Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steven Larson. Speaking of the Twitch, I know you put this third in our news notes, Larson, but why don't we just open with this? Because I kind of feel like for our community especially, this is kind of a big deal.
It is a massive deal, and it's a bummer.
We woke up this morning to an absolute bummer of a situation, of some news, and we're going to talk about it and try not to let our feelings get in the way. But Impact is saying goodbye to co-streaming on Twitch. So as a lot of you know, a lot of our audience watches these. I think I looked at our analytics today just to sort of see what kind of impact these streams have on our channel here. And they're watched by a viewership on a week-to-week basis of between around 1,000 to 1,500 unique viewers. Our concurrence, which means the total number of people who are usually watching, vary between, I'd say, around 300, sometimes upwards of like 600. So people dip in and out during the stream, and it's awesome. Impact is a solid product. We really enjoy the product itself. They seem to have a lot of fun with it. We have a lot of fun consuming it that way because we keep it really light. We take the time to really engage with our awesome Friendo community. We chit-chat quite a bit. We eat dinner. It's just a really nice 2 hours to start winding down our week on a Thursday night. Impact today released this statement via their Twitter account. Basically they said last week's episode was going to be the last one they're doing on Twitch, and they're moving their streaming operations over to YouTube with the launch. Now, they had actually launched this 3 weeks ago. Impact Insiders. There are currently 2 tiers available, and they're basically YouTube memberships. You can have a 99-cent tier, which gets you to new episodes of Impact, which are ad-free. Loyalty badges, member access to their community board, their Discord, I believe. For $4.99 a month, you get all of that, plus monthly special events, access to Impact's archive, discounts on merch, and more. Do you know if that monthly special event thing, does that include the Impact Plus shows?
I don't believe it mentioned. I'll double check this link. It did also include access to Hard to Kill, Rebellion, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory 30 days after they air.
Okay.
The only thing they have here on their release about monthly special events, it just top stars collide and must-see matchups. That's all it says.
Okay. And then when asked about it a little bit later, they did confirm. They said, co-streaming is no longer going to be allowed for our channel, and that their show is only going to be on Access and then behind this paywall on their YouTube channel. Now, obviously, we were not the only people to be co-streaming Impact. Especially once Kenny Omega, once they started doing the stuff with AEW, this became a pretty popular thing for quite a few streamers on Twitch. I know Big Willie was doing this. I believe Macho T might have been doing it. So there was any number of Fightful Gaming, I think, was doing it.
Sounds right.
Any number of awesome wrestling Twitch streamers out there were doing this. And in terms of our community, I don't know how we're going to move forward. We have not really had the time to we've brainstormed some stuff. We have some possible ideas. We don't really want to announce anything for the Thursday slot. I would prefer not to just leave it blank. I think we want to do something there in the Thursday spot. But we're going to figure things out. But what's your thought on this in terms of the business savvy of doing this? What do you think about this?
Well, I'm guessing they probably think that Impact in its current iteration has never been hotter. And while there is a variety of ways you can monetize your content on Twitch, it's just as easy for people to sit there and watch it free gratis. If they think people are willing to pony up some money to watch Impact now to stream it, especially those of us who don't have access, then from a financial or business standpoint, it makes sense because it's guaranteed money you're getting as opposed to Twitch, where there's more options in terms of how people can contribute, to the product. But this is like automatic. Hey, if there's 1,000 people watching, at the least, that's $1,000 that people are paying to watch your product.
Yeah. I don't know what their average. I know their concurrent number had sort of varied. I mean, it was like off the hook when Kenny first showed up.
Yeah, early. When we usually do our streams, I'll actually watch the show on Impact's Twitch channel.
Oh,
so
sure.
they have, usually there's anywhere between, like 3,500 to maybe 4,500, 5,000 watching lately per episode.
Mm-hmm. And if they have, I mean, I've seen, and no way is this scientific whatsoever, but I know there have been studies. I looked at them ages ago that, gives you some indication as to what you can expect as a business if you offer something up for free and then, people pay for it. If you get, and I forget if the number, I swear I thought the number was like 1%, you can expect to then pay for it if they have 10,000 people and another, let's say, I don't know, 2,000 people. They have like 12,000 people that are watching, and you get 1% of that. I'm doing Steiner math at this point, man. I'll be honest.
Pretty much drastic go down.
Whatever that is.
What you're trying to say is the potential there for viewership to drastic go down.
Well, their big thing right now, I would imagine, thinking about it, it would be their pay-per-view revenue, which at this point is very healthy. Like, I think,
You'd think so.
One of the last pay-per-views they did, it had like 150,000 paid buys, which is a lot of money given they charge, what is it, $40, $50 for their, I think it's 40 for their pay-per-view.
They charge 40, yeah.
So, whatever that is, $40 billion they're getting every single quarter or whatever.
4 times a year, yeah.
Yeah. And I do, you have to wonder, okay, this is a bit of a gamble for them in terms of, okay, how many people are going to drop out because the only way they watch is on Twitch and they don't want to pony up. But if they did their own analytics and they're like, hey, this makes sense for our business, then more power to them.
Exactly.
We'll have to figure out. What we're gonna do. I mean, I don't know. Adding 2 hours of additional wrestling to the schedule every week. That now we don't have that way to do it. It's like we have that 2 hours on Thursday that we block off. That was us watching Impact, right? Yeah. It's not like, okay, well, if we didn't have that time, I'd watch it on my own at some other point. Now, it's possible that I might just to keep up with it because there's some cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
But right now the landscape is pretty saturated with wrestling. So we'll see how this plays out. The offer is open for AEW. I did tweet at them. It was an official tweet. It was an official tweet, Larson.
From the Going in Raw account, so that's official.
Yeah, I'm not doing
binding, yes.
I didn't do like a silly face app accompanying this, This was legitimate. I actually made sure all the words were spelled correctly in this tweet, and it's to AEW. And if we're happy to take their day olds, to use a donut metaphor.
Yeah.
Darker Elevation, they choose. We'll run it on our Twitch. We'll delete the VOD, just so we have some. I want something on the damn screen is what I want.
I know.
That's what I want.
Well, while we're talking AEW, Dark, let's talk about this, then we'll talk about SummerSlam afterwards. So it's been making the rounds on wrestling internet a few days ago. Baxter, he's been known to drop some raps before making his entrance. He had one on Dark that aired yesterday, and it was pretty darn tacky. Despite some cries, I think people had an advance and say, because people were there at the live taping.
Yeah.
People recorded it. It started making its way around Twitter. And there were people even in advance of Dark airing last night to have that edited out of the broadcast. It wasn't at first. Eventually it was. And then Tony Khan was on Busted Open and talked about the situation, calling Caster's rap terrible and saying he hadn't heard it until last night. Khan continued that it should have been caught in the editing process, that it shouldn't have aired to begin with, and that on Dynamite, he's really hands-on. And he goes over whatever Caster's going to say before he does it. Apparently not the case with Darker Elevation, but that going forward, he's now going to start overseeing the editing of Dark and Elevation.
Oh, man, he's adding more work to his schedule. That sucks.
Yep.
Why don't they just have somebody there editing it that, understands what's tasteless and tacky, I mean, this isn't the first time that Caster said stuff that, is just not clever. and instead just goes for the low hanging fruit. It's tacky. I've never been a fan of that kind of stuff. Like, if you're gonna do this stuff, be clever with it, you know. And I saw so many people on Twitter saying, "Oh, but he's a heel." It's entertainment. It's pre-scripted entertainment. And it's like, I don't need that kind of stuff in my entertainment. I don't care if you're a good guy, bad guy, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't need that stuff. So, like, it's tacky as hell. It's tasteless as hell.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Hopefully we don't get this kind of crap again.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. Let's talk SummerSlam, because with COVID numbers once again on the rise, it brings forth the discussion of, will SummerSlam go on as planned, as scheduled? And while we haven't had any indication yet that Nevada is anywhere close to putting any sort of limitations on large indoor gatherings, bodyslam.net is reporting that WWE is preparing for that eventuality should it come to pass. This is what bodyslam.net had to say, quote, while speaking with sources within WWE, I was told that internally WWE expects that they will have to return to the Performance Center or another venue for their Thunderdome gimmick within a couple of weeks. Additionally, sources stated to me, to bodyslam.net, not Larson, that the feeling internally is that SummerSlam can/will be canceled. The feeling is that the company fully expects they will not be on the road in 4 weeks' time, as there is concerned about how they will be able to proceed in a non-contained environment. Currently, the belief within WWE is that they do not expect another round of lockdowns, but are fully anticipating bans on mass gatherings potentially come down over the next few weeks. Meanwhile, WrestleVotes tweeted out today that, quote, source says SummerSlam happening at Allegiant Stadium is still the plan, with the event being just 2 weeks out. WWE has had conversations with the city and venue, and as of this very moment, all things remain on track. And if you are planning on attending SummerSlam, be prepared to mask up. Allegiant Stadium issued a statement late last week, which stated that, quote, all individuals, regardless of vaccination status, must wear a mask while inside the stadium.
Yeah, man. You know, if you want to protect your loved ones and yourself, get vaccinated. Get the damn shot. Put it in your arm. Feels great. I walk around like I feel like I got a shield of armor around me. But wear a face mask as well.
Yeah.
It's we saw this coming a mile away. Everybody did. And you get, certain elements of the news media preaching dogma, anti-vax dogma, and for their own fucked up reasons. And the bottom line is the vaccination is there. We have the ability to have nice things.
Yeah,
we have the ability to have nice things, and we elect not to. So that's the deal. And it'd be an absolute bummer. I still think, I don't know how viable it would be at this point to have I know with New York, I think all venues now are requiring.
All indoor venues in New York, require proof of vaccination. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure what would prevent venues that have currently sold a lot of tickets from doing something like that. Maybe it's part of the ticket buying process. I don't know. But I'd be kind of surprised if you didn't see a lot more. I think that you're going to see some serious consequences between now and the next couple of months. I mean, you've already seen I read an email about Kaiser. They're going to start requiring their healthcare workers to be vaccinated. Federal government potentially might be doing that too. I don't know if that's been announced officially or not. But it wouldn't shock me if you just see a lot more requirements, because nobody wants to go back into lockdown. Nobody wants to do that stuff. No business or government wants that.
They've tried to incentivize those who haven't got vaccinated to get vaccinated. That's where they've had lottery type stuff, like gift cards and stuff you could get by getting vaccinated. Apparently that hasn't done the trick. So maybe the alternative is going to have to be, all right, if you're not vaccinated, then, you can't do this. You can't get on a plane. You can't go to these larger gatherings. So
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
All right, let's take a quick break for a word from the sponsor of today's show, Decked. So I'm sure we've all been in a situation where you get in a friend's truck, or your own for that matter, and you notice that it's an absolute mess. Just stuff everywhere in the cab, on the floor, under the seats, and you think to yourself, it'd be great if I could tell this friend of mine something that can help them keep their stuff organized.
Well, Steve, next time you see that friend who's got all that stuff, whether it's in the cab or sitting in the truck bed, just unsecured and exposed to the elements, rattling around completely unorganized, you can tell them about the decked drawer system. See, whether it's work tools, camping gear, or safety items, Decked helps you organize, protect, and secure all your stuff.
Yeah, each of Deck's 2 full bed-length drawers can carry up to 200 pounds of whatever you want to be in them. And the drawers roll out about waist-high, so you get easy access to all your tools and gear. Plus, they're weatherproof, protecting everything from the elements.
Decked also has a full line of storage accessories to help you stay organized. I'm talking toolboxes, tie-downs, and a bunch of other options so you can maximize both your space and your time. On top of that, the Decked drawer system is 100% made in the USA and backed by a 3-year no-hassle warranty with a second-to-none customer service team ready to answer all your questions.
So get your Decked drawer system at decked.com/raw and get free shipping. That's decked.com/raw. All right, we're going to take a quick break also to get a word in from the sponsor of today's show, Liquid Death. So, Larson,
yeah,
we're right in the middle of the dog days of summer, man. It is hot outside. But when I'm on the verge of heat overload, I reach for a can of Liquid Death and put my thirst down like a dog.
Yeah, this may look like a beer, but I assure you it's not. Inside this awesome-looking tall boy can, 16.9 ounces of mountain water that will brutally murder your thirst, hence the name on the can here. And while the can does look cool, what makes it even better is that aluminum cans are infinitely recyclable, unlike plastic bottles, which mostly end up in a landfill. See here, plastic bottles are a money loser for recycling centers, but aluminum cans actually make them money.
Yeah, that's right. Also, Liquid Death donates 10% of their profits from every can sold to help bring death upon plastic pollution. So if you want to put your thirst down like a dog during these dog days of summer, go to liquiddeath.com/GIR to get a free set of cozies with your first order of any case of water.
Or grab some at your neighborhood Whole Foods or 7-Eleven. And before we get back to the show, here's a word from the sponsor of today's show, BetterHelp. Several years ago, while dealing with severe anxiety, I learned the importance of talking to a therapist, but also discovered that it can be extremely difficult to find the right person to talk to. Today, BetterHelp is providing a safe and private online environment where your needs will be assessed. You'll be matched with your own licensed personal therapist.
BetterHelp isn't a crisis line, nor is it self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online, all without having to ever sit in another uncomfortable waiting room.
BetterHelp is dedicated to facilitating great therapeutic matches. Send your counselor messages at any time or schedule regular weekly phone or video sessions. And they've made it free and easy to change therapists if needed.
And you don't have to limit yourself to counselors in your area. BetterHelp services are available worldwide, so you can find the expertise you need regardless of location.
We want you to start living a happier life today. As a Going In Raw listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/raw. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health.
Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into NXT. I feel like the main event was pretty fun. The funniest thing about it, I love the main event stuff. It was really fun. But ushering in Kross, because we know the backstory. So there is obviously. Look, I think it'll be interesting to see where AEW is in a couple months. I'm sorry, NXT is going to be in AEW for sure, but NXT in a couple months. Simply because Joe will have the championship within a couple of weeks here, probably, or 3 weeks. Maybe some more of these breakout tournament guys will get into stories. Maybe they'll come up with some better stories. And I'd love within a couple months, and I don't know, and I'm really bearish on this happening. I don't think it's going to happen. I'd love for them to get out in front of a couple new crowds. I just think the CWC crowd, they're not it. I think that they just get, I don't know what the deal is, but if it's like the seating arrangement, the number of people in the house, there's just the energy just isn't the same as having a live crowd, like a different crowd, you know?
Yeah. Or even it's not even the same as the Full Sail crowd. You know?
I know.
Like that place was electric week in and week out, you know, and they saw the product every single week. But it felt like a community, like a real community there. And I'm sure there's some people who attended shows at Full Sail who are there now, but I don't know, for some reason, there's a spark that seems to be missing. It was quite unexpected watching the show to hear that returning Ridge Holland may have gotten the loudest reaction of the whole show.
Yeah.
He got a ton of heat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I think they've really started to glom onto Ikemen Jiro.
Jiro,
yeah. He was great, by the way. But there is a spark missing. I know you've said that you find the undercard stories lacking, and they are. And I don't know exactly. Like, there just is sort of, I don't know. There's something. Sometimes NXT will be killing it, and I just think that right now, especially right now, they're in a period of rebuilding. I mean, we're in the middle of a breakout tournament with some really fantastic talent. Like Trey Baxter and Joe Gacy had a really terrific match.
Yeah, I was not that familiar with Joe Gacy's work. He reminds me a little bit of Kevin Owens.
I could see that. Yeah, I could totally see that. Trey Baxter doing really fun stuff. I think they do have something with the Ikemen Jiro. Of course, Duke Hudson, future undisputed champion of like everything, right?
Future face of pro wrestling.
Yeah, face of pro. Thank you. I mean, Hollywood mainstream star.
I'm just assuming that's your viewpoint. That's your opinion.
My face
not
of wrestling,
necessarily
anyways. Not my face of wrestling for sure.
Yeah.
I think they've got a lot of great pieces in place, but also, with the shenanigans going on with Kross, it's, as a fan of NXT, it's not a huge leap to just think, man, does this company even care about NXT? Like, they took two of its brighter stars in Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox and then just put him in purgatory. Austin Theory left the way, and he was a wonderful little addition. It just feels like everybody's kind of like...
Adam Cole's contract's up, and apparently nobody knew about it.
Adam Cole might not even be under contract right now. I know he allegedly signed an extension till after SummerSlam, but he doesn't even know what he's going to do. Yeah, man, there's, the Kyle O'Reilly, solo face experiment, in my opinion, is just totally fallen flat.
Yeah. Well, I'll agree with that.
There's too much there that just doesn't feel that important right now. And NXT, it goes through phases like this.
It does. It's cyclical. They'll have a stretch where creatively they seem like they're inspired, they're doing good stuff. And after those stories end, well, it feels like, it takes them a while to get in a rhythm where they can find stories to match what they had done. So, you'll have 3 months of interesting stuff and the 3 months where it's like this, where, there might be a couple things here or there that are of interest, but by and large, a lot of the other stuff just feels like it's not really riveting. It's not involving for whatever reason. It just doesn't have a spark.
The most buzzworthy match heading into TakeOver isn't even on NXT's brand.
I know.
It's NXT UK with Walter and Ilya, which, by the way, I can almost guarantee this is going to be my match of the year. This is going to be electric. Oh, I can't wait for it. It's going to be
brutal.
Good.
It's going to be violent. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be really good.
Goodness.
It is going to be really good.
So, yeah, I mean, I would love for somebody to write a book on what the hell is going on backstage with all this Kross stuff and them just sort of swooping people up out of the roster. I think Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez is some pretty interesting stuff right now. But I'm curious to see. I really hope they put that title on Dakota Kai, because if they don't, I have no idea what they're going to do with Raquel Gonzalez after that. Because there's kind of nobody but maybe Shirai, but they need to hold off. I mean, that's at that point, you're face versus face. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can just dive into it. Kicked off with Hit Row in tag action against Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde.
Well, here's another scenario where there's two teams that are really good that I really like.
Yeah.
And I get the nature of the feud. Just feels like, I don't know, it's not hitting like it should. And I don't know. I can't place it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You look back on stuff that is really good and you think, okay, well, what could change here to more reflect something like that? As something that takes a deep dive in my throat. Hold on.
Yeah. But yeah, there's two factions here that are great, that can do great work. And let's say this is bad. It's fine. It just, I don't know, the intensity, I don't feel like the intensity is necessarily there for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's there does seem to be something missing, because they are two really terrific teams. Like, I could easily see Hit Row is going to be, they're going to be huge. And I wonder if it's a matter, it's like, are they not making enough about the North American title? Given that,
That's part of it.
Given that Bronson Reed seemed to be on the verge of a call-up when he lost that title just randomly on an episode of NXT, and Santos is like, well, I wanted that title a lot. There's history between these two guys, but it doesn't really seem like it's been mined all that much. And it's just sort of one-upping on who can get the better of them in a brawl situation. Last night this match was 15 minutes of a really fun match, and then Santos just picked up a chair and attacked Top Dollar when he was coming off the ropes to deliver a finish. Broke down in a brawl. Legado sort of got rid of everybody except for Swerve. They held him up. Santos delivered a chair attack to him, and then and he ripped out
his grill,
his grill. Whoa. That's gross, going into people's mouths. And so, I mean, kind of a cool moment, kind of like whoa, that was kind of a crazy moment. It's not like he ripped out an actual tooth, which would have been like really kind of brutal. Yeah. But then, B-Fab attacks, I think, Raul from behind with a chair. And then Hit Row come back with their guys. Swerve hits Raul, I think, with a Phantom Driver. It looked great, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. I do feel like the natural ebb and flow of a crowd, and somebody in chat mentioned this as well, that this is the second of back-to-back tapings for the CWC crowd, and maybe that had something to do with it. I just feel like the way Full Sail was situated, or the way a 1,200 or 1,500 seat venue would be situated, and the excitement of having, whoa, NXT's coming to town. I'm a big nerd for NXT. I'm going to be cheering, and that's going to add a lot to it, That's going to give you that spark. I feel even the same stuff that we're seeing in the ring could have that additional spark with just a crowd reacting to it in a certain way. Maybe that's what's missing. I don't know. But,
I don't know. I mean, that could be an element of it, but I feel like from a creative standpoint, there's just something kind of lacking.
It's not the most inspired stuff.
No.
Yeah.
No. After that match, we had Samoa Joe backstage. He's already all worked up. He's already angry. Regal walks up to him and says, Joe, now that you're a competitor, I got to have security follow you so nothing happens between you and Kross until TakeOver. And so he's got like 6 security guys that are just shadowing him. That doesn't make Joe any more calm. In fact, it makes him probably more angry. We get
get some itchy.
A quick little Dexter Lumis video package. And then we got Ridge Holland versus Ikemen Jiro. This was pretty much a squash match at one point. Ridge Holland did a heck of a pounce on Jiro on the floor into the barricade.
Yeah.
Eventually, he takes off Jiro's sports coat, tosses it to the floor. That alone gets massive heat on Ridge Holland.
Yeah.
He is number one. At that moment, he's number one heel in NXT. Eventually, he hits his finish. Tosses Jiro from the ring. Pete Dunne, Oni Lorcan, who are ringside, get in the ring with them. Pete Dunne drops a promo, says everyone thinks they're bad, till a real bad man walks in the room. Ciampa thought he was bad till we stepped into the room. He says that Thatcher is going to lose all his teeth to Ridge Holland, and I'll have to pick him up with broken fingers. Eesh. He says this is what happens when you step to them. They're the 3 most dangerous men in NXT. Try to prove us wrong. So he's pretty much stolen my gimmick. Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong. Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
What's up with that? He's a going in Raw fan. He's trying to make. I mean, this is actually pretty good. Pete Dunne is great, but even he's like, I feel like he's sort of. What does he do? He's like manager for Holland now. Is that the deal? Because like Holland seems like the thing, and it's like no, Dunne should be the thing.
Dunne should be the guy getting pushed to the moon. Yes. No disrespect to Ridge Holland. I think he's got a lot of potential. Pete Dunne is great.
Yeah, Pete Dunne is great. You should bring up Mustache Mountain.
Should.
And so you have British Strong Style back. That should be the thing.
That should be the thing, 1,000%.
Anyways, after that, Frankie Monet and the other people in Robert Stone brand, Jesse and Robert, are there with her. She got an interview. They asked what happened last week with her loss, and she says, well, what happened last week was due to Robert Stone's interference. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. And so she really runs him down and says, you know what? I've decided this group has to be rebuilt. under Frankie's rules. So are they just going to add like a person? Is she going to get rid of Robert Stone? What does that even mean?
Maybe. Well, she says, take it or leave it. Robert Stone says, oh, yeah, I'm going to take it. I'm not leaving it. I'm going to take it.
He is better suited to be just like a worker drone as opposed to managing it. He seemed always stressed out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, his hair always looked nice, but he always seemed just really stressed
he's
out.
always, like he's always dressed well. His hair always looked nice, but he always seemed like he was just hanging on by a thread. Like it was all about to fall apart from any second. We had a Trey Baxter video package next. And then we have Bob Fish versus Roderick Strong. Roddy got the win here. Although Bob Fish dominated a good chunk of this match with a bunch of strikes. Eventually, though, Roderick Strong knocks Bob Fish off the top rope, puts him back in the ring, hits a jumping knee, end of Heartache for the win.
Yeah, the really solid match. I do like how, I mean, it's kind of funny because they're pushing, Malcolm Bivens only wants the big money matches, and it's like, a firm mid-card match.
They tried to hype it up with a video package.
Yeah,
that had,
they try
Undisputed Era stuff in there, but yeah, it's hard to take a match like this and elevate it much more above than just the mid card.
I mean, if you keep calling it big money match, maybe some people believe it's a big money match. Maybe Bobby Fish's parents. So LA Knight, yeah, he's backstage. Oh, they've got a tag match tonight against Grizzled Young Veterans. And Grimes is like, hey, man, I'm going to change into my wrestling gear. And Knight's like, no, you're not, incel. You're wrestling in your butler outfit. And, they sort of talk about, hey, do you have my back? And LA Knight's like, oh, you're a man of your word. I'm a man of mine. You better believe I'm going to have your back against Grizzled Young Veterans. That totally didn't happen.
Oh, of course not.
And then, to sort of portend what's to come, he has Grimes shine his boots up.
That kind of smirks while he's doing it.
Yeah, right. What a dick.
Yeah.
We had that match next, which was LA Knight and Cameron Grimes versus Grizzled Young Veterans. Of course, we got a promo to kick things off on the way to the ring. Drake says, Grimes, you're proof that you can't polish a turd. And Gibson says, I don't know what kind of role playing you're presently doing, but listen to the veterans inside and out of the ring. Stay out of our way, because we're Grizzled Young Veterans soon at some point to be recognized as NXT Tag Champions.
Maybe. It's entirely possible. So, yes, of course, LA Knight, not a man of his word. So Grimes is getting worked over. He goes for the hot tag to LA Knight. Knight drops off the apron. Prince says, well, you're on your own. So Grimes gets fired up. He takes off his coat, his gloves, and he goes on a bit of a run. He takes it to Grizzled Young Veterans, hits them with a double Rana, hits a penalty kick on Gibson while he's on the floor, hits Drake with that shooting star press slam he does that gets with two. He's setting up for a cave-in. Drake ducks it, and Grizzled Young Veterans, actually the transition to Ticket to Mayhem was actually really well done.
It was, yeah.
Get that to get the win. And then afterwards, Ted DiBiase walks ringside. He tells Grimes, I told you so, essentially. Knight wouldn't have your back. He tells Grimes you have to figure out a way to get out of the situation and helps him up the ramp at backstage.
Yep. After that, we had a really well put together Dakota Kai Raquel Gonzalez video package, which was sort of narrated. This is focusing on Dakota Kai, where she sort of explains her side. She says, basically, she let Raquel rack up all those victories. She got those victories because of her, but then she was really put off when Io Shirai chose to have Raquel challenge her for the title. And she's like, instead of giving it over to me, she took it herself. And she attributes all of her success to Dakota Kai. She says once she beat Io, she was known as Raquel's sidekick. She's like, I'm nobody's sidekick. I brought Raquel into this world, and now I'm going to be the one to take her out of it. I thought it was really well put together, and I thought Dakota Kai was really good. What do you like? Would you like Dakota Kai's odds here coming up at TakeOver?
I mean, you're right. If Raquel wins, then what's really next for her?
Right. What's there left to do? I feel like Dakota Kai, if anybody has figured her out, it would be the person closest to her. There has to be a key to beating Raquel, and that's got to be the deal here. And Dakota Kai, I feel like, has to get that win. And then you can have an entire, the storyline going into the fall with these two. That's what it should be. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
So did you buy her saying that in all those tag matches she let Raquel, all those matches where Dakota Kai was the one getting her ass kicked? You call a bull on that, huh?
Yeah, I'm not buying that. No.
She doesn't get to block her own scenes. After that, we
had an interview with The Way, talk about the importance of the match tonight. John says they've all been champions, been in takeover main events. Tonight, this match ranks right up there with all those accomplishments. Candice says they know what's best for Indy. Gargano says the fate of the family rests in his hands. The fate of Indy's life rests in his hands. He must do whatever it takes to protect Indy at all costs. He says it's not going to be popular, but tonight, I end Index.
You have to appreciate that they're telling a story of like a father's worst nightmare. What if their kid falls in love with a serial killer?
I know.
Oh, man. After that, we had a Joe Gacy breakout tournament video package. Former, I think,
CZW champion. Is he the current CZW champion?
I thought he was the current CZ. Because, they have the current Evolved champion, even though Evolve's not a thing. And then I think the current CZW champion.
And the current PWG tag champion.
And the current PWG tag champions. That's right. So we, this is a really, really fantastic match. I don't know what spots you want to go with, but Baxter ended up getting the win here with a 450 stomp, which was a really impressive
That was pretty
move.
impressive.
If it didn't look like it really put a whole lot of weight onto Gacy. It looked like that move is sort of more concerned with just sticking it as opposed to like when Finn does his coup de grace, it's like, or Leo Rush's coup de grace or double foot stomp thing looked brutal, or low key had one that looked absolutely brutal.
Oh yeah.
Baxter hits a 450 stomp for the win here, but this is a really fun match to showcase both these guys really well.
It really was. Yeah, Joe Gacy was the last CZW champ. It was vacated about a year ago.
Oh, it was actually vacated. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I don't think they've had shows since. And then we got Zoe Stark and Io Shirai out at lunch.
Apparently, this is drumming up a little bit of controversy on the Twitter machine, which I kind of understand where some people are coming from with it.
Yeah, same.
I didn't really watch it and find it offensive beyond being offensively unfunny.
Yeah, it was not funny.
It I don't know if this kind of thing is. I kind of appreciate on one hand that it does sort of prepare NXT people for main roster, because main roster does stuff all the time that's unfunny and hokey like this.
Yes.
And if Zoe Stark wants to get to main roster, she's going to have to do basically what Shayna Baszler did, and that's adapt to hokey, corny comedy bullshit, which this was.
Yes,
now,
1000%.
when I see the spread of Japanese cuisine, Larson, my tummy starts rumbling because all that stuff looked good. But in this case, Zoe Stark couldn't hang with what Io Shirai had ordered. And then there was just, I guess because Io had a banter with her waitress, with their server, Zoe was like, oh, hey, do you know her? And she was like, no, I just met her. And she's like, oh, okay. So I don't know if next week Zoe's going to try to appeal to Io, having learned some Japanese, perhaps.
I don't know
if that was the foreshadowing here, but this isn't the way to go with this story. I'll be honest.
It's not.
I feel like the kind of story they're telling with Ali and Mansoor, two other people trying to get on the same page, you show it in the ring,
exactly
against opponents who are on the same page. You show it there.
Exactly.
But then they're already tag champions, so it's like you've already on the same page.
I know. It's sort of like the Nikki ASH story, where it feels like the title win should be the culmination of a story they tell about.
Yeah.
In this case, Io and Zoe, but instead they put the belts on them, and then now they actually have to tell the story of them learning to be a tag team after they've already won the titles.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So at the end, Io asks for the check. And she gets up, and Zoe gets up, is trying to give her a hug. Instead, Io, take the little folio thing the check's in, and puts it on her.
Yeah.
So did Io pay for the meal, or is she saying this is on you?
I'm pretty sure she's saying you got the bill.
That's what I thought too. But at no
bill.
point did Zoe ever actually pay for the meal.
My assumption is that I didn't notice the folio in her hand as she walked away, but I thought maybe she grabbed the check out of it.
Could be.
And she was heading to the front. Sometimes you pay at the front, like at Denny's, you take your check up to the front. And you pay. They're like, "Oh, hey, Steve, good to see you again." And how was your moons over my hammy today? I'm like, well, coupled with the lumberjack slam, it's a delight.
And they'll say, "We'll see you for dinner." Yeah.
You got that right. After that, we had an Indy Hartwell interview where she says, on one hand, I've got true love, battling on the other hand, family. And, if Dexter Lumis wins, John is going to find out if Dexter, he will find out that Dexter's a good guy. He's just misunderstood. After that, in my notes here, I have written, oh, geez, this guy, Karrion Kross shows up. They usher him out to a confused crowd. And I love how they number one, you can tell commentary is like this disembodied voice shot at or recorded at a different time.
You could tell at several points during the show they had to do some pickups on commentary.
So the story, the behind the scenes story of this is the first time they filmed Karrion Kross coming out here and jumping on commentary, evidently, the crowd relentlessly peppered him with Jeff Hardy chants because this was right on the heels of him. I think it was probably filmed the next day or something of him losing to Jeff Hardy. And then they promised the crowd at the end of the taping, hey, we've got something special planned for you guys. And all they did was run Kross down in there. He was on the mic. He said what he had to say on commentary. They probably found a way to mute the crowd. They were confused anyways. And then he ran out of there as Mojo.
As fast as he could,
came in. So it was like he was on that desk for 30 seconds. And they were like, okay, good. We pulled a fast one on the CWC crowd.
Yeah. He gets on the commentary. Yeah. He got on the commentary table and just said, Joe, you can't control this place. You couldn't then. You can't now. So tell me something. Who provoked who? Joe comes out. He beats up security, chokes one of them out. And then Griffin Amite here in chat says the security guard Joe choked out last night was Bronson Steiner.
Long-term storytelling. What? He's fat ass. That's Samoa Joe. Choking out my kid.
Well, no, it's not Scott's kid. It's Rick's kid.
Oh, my nephew. Still.
Yeah.
That's great. That's right. Yeah, it's Rick's kid, huh?
Yeah. And after that, we had a really great prime target about Ilya and Walter's match. And they got some takes, some hot takes from main roster superstars like Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Matt Riddle, Fit Finlay, along with William Regal. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, this is a really cool thing, man. I'm really
one of the few times they try to make the whole WWE universe seem like a universe that includes all three brands.
It's so inconsistent. It's so inconsistent.
It should be so easy.
This match is gonna be the shit. It's
gonna be hard hitting, man.
Killer. Oh my god. Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. After that, we had the main event. We had John Gargano versus Dexter Lumis. This is good stuff. This is really funny stuff. I really enjoyed this. They did a great bit where Dexter goes under the ring. Indy goes down there too. And so Candace comes over and Johnny comes down and they both grab a leg and they pull because Indy's legs are sort of sticking out from underneath the ring and they pull her out. And as they pull her out, she's holding on to Dexter and he gets pulled out with her and they're face to face. There's all sorts of that great stuff. At one point, Johnny gets Dexter in the Gargano escape. And Indy's on the aprons, we're sort of cheering him on, and Dex is clawing towards his love. He's clawing over there, and before he grabs onto the ropes, he caresses her cheek with his gloved hand, and then he grabs the rope, and then the ref calls it. Says, "All right, you got to get out of there." Dexter gets 2 with a roll up towards this is the finish here, and Johnny kicks out of that, but when he does, he sends Dexter sort of into the ropes where Indy is. She falls, he freaks out, and he sort of checks on her to the outside. Gargano suicide dives, does the tornado DDT on him on the outside. When Dexter gets back in, or Gargano gets him back in there, hits one final beat for the win. after the match, when father and mother are taking their adopted child up the ramp, she decides, nope, not going to happen. She runs down there to Dexter anyways. Luthez press, tons of kisses, and then I guess in a network exclusive, because this wasn't on the broadcast, Johnny and Candice leave, and she tries to carry Dexter out. They fall, and then he ends up picking her up, and he carries her back to the back, where hopefully shenanigans will occur. Yeah, Zax. So yeah, fun way to end a fairly non-consequential episode of NXT.
Yeah.
What is happening on? I know there's no AEW preview in your notes, but
it's Homecoming.
It's Homecoming. That's right. We got Homecoming tonight. We'll be doing a live recap of that after the show. Should be a fun one. I know.
Here we got the card. We got Cody versus Malachi Black, of course. There's Chris Jericho versus Juventud Guerrera.
Ooh, number 3. Cool.
Miro versus Lee Johnson. The Bunny versus Layla Hirsch. The winner of that gets a NWA Women's title shot.
We got the debut of 2.0 with, what's the name? Garcia?
Daniel Garcia?
Yes.
Against Mox, Kingston, and Darby.
Yeah.
And then Christian Cage versus The Blade.
Okay. Good stuff. So, yeah, join us on the Twitch live for that. That should be fun. And let's go ahead and answer a couple questions here about NXT.
Sounds good.
First up. Oh, by the way, also, today is Wednesday, which makes tomorrow Numbers Don't Lie Day.
Correct.
We're going to be taking a look at China.
Yep.
And you can check that out at patreon.com/Stephen Larson. You can vote on China's numbers, her in-ring ability, promo ability, kayfabe ability, legacy ability, look ability. And then you can watch live as we do it, or check it out on VOD, or listen to it on the audio version of our Patreon feed. Anthony R. says, and this is a big if Dragunov wins, that's not an if, that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's probably going to happen.
He says, who should be his first challenger, providing Walter doesn't get a rematch? The bigger question is going to be, what the hell are they going to do with Walter after Dragunov wins his title?
I know. There really isn't much else for Walter to do in NXT UK if he loses. He's had the belt for like 3 years, basically.
He's had it forever. They sort of did lose kind of a year. I know they had that terrific Ilya match, won, and they did, I think, him versus Rampage, a couple other matches that Walter had during pandemic. But I don't know what they're going to do with Walter. I don't know if he's going to spend some time in NXT Prime. I could see that if he's down to travel, I don't know, a couple times a month, maybe.
Well, it'd probably be a situation where he travels, he's there for a month, goes back home.
Yeah, it could be, huh?
Comes back for a month.
They could just tape some promos to lead up to takeover. Yeah.
Frederick the Dino says, I got vibes like it's late 2016, early 2017 NXT, where a lot of names they were pushing all of a sudden got scooped, and NXT is left with the random assortment of other people they suddenly need to push. Kind of feels that way. But I mean, like, this creatively, it feels like, like after Keith Lee got called up, it felt like creatively they were kind of in a lull until Halloween Havoc, which was a fun show.
I would just guess, because here's the thing. There seems to be a correlation between when they're creatively not great and rebuilding phases.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if, given the uncertainty of, if you're a wrestling brand, and you pride yourself on being able to tell stories over the long term. You're not booking week to week, which NXT, I feel like they do a pretty decent job. Hey, we got these stories laid out. And then all of a sudden, you got the hand of Vince coming down and plucking a bunch of stuff, and you're like reloading a bunch of stuff. NXT maybe just, they're not suited for, hey, let's get really inspired creative on the fly. And maybe that's the situation. Maybe when you're in a rebuilding phase, because Vince all of a sudden wants to call, but Vince is traveling to the Performance Center. He's going to start plucking people out.
Yeah.
Maybe you just understand, hey, plans have to change, and now we have to do the best we can with what we have. And maybe that just isn't their strong suit. Maybe rebuilding creative is just not going to be that inspired because they're not used to it. They want their pieces in place to get the best out of their creative. That's the only thing I can think. I have no inside info. I don't know. It's speculation.
It seems to be the case, though. It definitely seems to be the case. Mike Lucas says, I love the Dakota Raquel stuff, but who really is the heel? I completely agree with Dakota.
Oh, Dakota's the heel here. She's just a heel with good points. But also she is kind of bullshitting because, come on, man. Those matches, those tag matches, she was sloppy.
She didn't let Raquel.
Yeah. She's lying to herself. Moses Opposes has a great question. If you could have a prime target on any wrestling feud in history, which feud would you choose? Steve Austin versus Savio Vega. You know why I'd choose that one? Because I don't need it for any other feud. Because I don't know anything about Savio Vega, and I don't know anything about that feud. I just know it was like the first Stone Cold Steve Austin feud. So I think a prime target to let me know who Savio Vega is would make for a good prime target.
Gotcha. I'll do trying to go back in days of wrestling yore.
How about a Macho Man versus Jake the Snake? Yeah.
That'd be good.
Oh, Jake.
That would be
good. And then he took out a snake and he had it bite my arm. Oh, yeah.
A cobra, no less. Night by night. Says, ever since you woke up today, you felt like you needed to sneeze. Every time you think you're on the verge of doing so, it just doesn't happen. You get left in that awful state of uncomfortable dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
You've tried all the tricks you can think of, and yet none have worked. What NXT superstar do you ask for help inducing a sneeze so you can go on about your day in peace? I mean, something that helps me sneeze, like you put black pepper under my nose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So who in NXT this seems like, well, let's go to catering. Who is there in catering?
Yeah, right.
So I'm sure in catering, they'll have.
Aren't being used. Yeah.
Kona Reeves, help me out.
There you go. That's good. That's perfect. Let's see here. Yeah, if I got it, I mean, going with this week's episode, a little hint of wasabi near my nose.
Yeah, that's good.
That'd do it. Yeah. She said, "What is this, guacamole?" That did make me chuckle. I was like, "No, don't have the wasabi."
Oh, wasabi's so good. Jorge D. Hopefully we get Index and Johnny Candice double dates. Where will Dexter take them for the first double date? How does it go?
It'd be like an abandoned meat locker, like a.
It'd be one of those midnight grindhouse movies.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, let's go watch how, burgers are made. Like a restaurant? No.
No.
No. Slaughterhouse. No. Doom.
Maggie says, my little Index heart is nervous now that we got the payoff. Indy is really going to Maine. Give me fake odds that give me hope, please, that they won't split them up just yet.
I kind of feel like this is a turn in a story as opposed to a write-off for Indy. So I kind of think that she's not heading right to Maine. I feel like you'll be okay, Maggie. I think that we're going to get a little bit more Index. Because it seems like out of that batch of people who had their main event tryouts, their WWE tryouts, I feel like, they took Shotzi. They took Tegan.
Mm-hmm.
They took Tony Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were just
Kross.
they took Kross. Who knows? I mean, I guess they're going to use Scarlett and Kross's story. It feels like maybe Indy might be safe.
Maybe. Seems like Bronson Reed might not be.
It seems like he's safe as well. Yeah.
Maybe, unless they're waiting until the draft. Who knows?
And that could be as well. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they'll have till the draft. Maybe they've actually been told. Yeah. No, we're Paul. We're gonna wait till the draft. That's what your dad says. Don't call him that anymore.
Cosmic Night Fury. Why does the Zoe Io Let's Be Friends story have to be a Seinfeld episode? Can it be an episode of Arthur or Sesame Street and teach viewers a lesson about how humility, honesty, communication can lead to healthy relationships?
As long as it's not an episode of. He mentioned Arthur and Sesame Street. Who's the one that I don't like?
Oh, Caillou.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, as long as it's not Caillou. Caillou.
Oh, that show.
You
Gosh.
little bastard. Get out of here.
Can't stand that show. Can't stand it.
Darius Johnson. And it's been years since Bam has had it's been years since she's watched any of that PBS stuff. Darius Johnson says, since Austin Theory will likely be on SmackDown, do you think at any point he and Seth will cross paths Or will they just act like he was never one of Seth's disciples? No, they'd probably reference that.
Yeah, at least a passing reference if their paths should ever cross. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One more good question before we call it a day here.
Let's see. RTG, can we see a depressed Johnny and Candice? In what funny ways do they cope with losing both their children?
Oh, man. They should really view this as like, hey, the kids have graduated. They're out of the house. They're, we're empty nesters now. Isn't that what they're called?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Just, just start throwing some key parties,
John has like a midlife crisis. He goes and gets like a sports car.
The Trans Am.
Yeah.
Firebird.
Like the old Trans Am.
Yeah. He has a midlife crisis like he's our age.
Yeah.
He gets a Trans Am.
So he goes, or he gets the Firebird like kit.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Anyways, that's going to do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Twitch chat, stick around. We'll hang out for a little bit. Hopefully, you'll join us for our AEW Homecoming recap tonight. Sometime after the show airs. Sometimes we do it at 7, right when the show airs.
It'll probably be 7. Yeah, why not?
Sometimes we'll give it 7:30. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. Anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.